All right, so breaking news, the Rams have signed 28-year-old wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson, the former Kansas City Chief turned Baltimore Raven. So we're going to get into that. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And let's dive in. This is the second receiver the Rams have added over the recent weeks. They did go out and get another guy that played in Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl, and Tyler Johnson. He kind of had spent some time with Houston and the Raiders, but he hadn't played since the last time the Buccaneers played the Rams in the divisional round of the playoffs. He's now joining a wide receiver room that really, the big mold here is opportunity. That is the big thing. When you look at Cooper Kupp, that's taken up. You look at Van Jefferson, that spot's taken up. I believe Tutu Atwell is a lock to make this roster, and I think Ben Skoranek adds value that simply no other wide receiver on this roster adds. He can play the fullback position, he can play out wide, he can play in the slot, and he can play tight end. So what does this mean? And is Puka Nacua safe to make this roster? I do think he is. I think this might mean that they're going to keep 7 on the roster because, this is an interesting pickup here. DeMarcus Robinson, 6'1", 200 pounds, the same size. He looks taller for whatever reason, but he's the same size as Tyler Johnson. He was a 4th-round pick in the 2016 draft out of Florida, and he was very often a guy that Patrick Mahomes will look down to down the field. And so now you have him coming off a decent season with the Ravens, going for 507 yards, receiving on 50 receptions. But here's the thing, including the wild card, of course. And here's the thing. This guy catches touchdowns. Okay. He's had 18 since he came into the league. For a guy that's not, coming down with a ton of yards, DeMarcus Robinson definitely finds the end zone. And this guy has won a Super Bowl. He's been to big games. The thing for him is that deep down the field, you're looking about 10 yards down the field is where his average depth of target is really going to be. And when I look at DeMarcus Robinson, this is just somebody that, look, he hasn't really blown up or anything like that since he's come in the league. His best season was last year, you could argue. I would say, maybe there are a couple years in there with Kansas City where he was better. He did have a 76.3 catch percentage back in 2020 at age 26, but this is exactly what the Rams are trying to do. When you grab guys like this, you go out and you get Tyler Johnson, you go out and you get DeMarcus Robinson. These aren't super flashy names. They're names that make you go, oh, okay, I know who that is. That's interesting. It's intriguing, right? But they're not super flashy. And I think the design, there's a method to the madness here. The Rams know their top guys. They know Atwell's going to be on this team. They know Cooper Kupp's going to have a huge role. They know Van Jefferson will have a role, and they like Ben Skoranek. But after that, Puka Nacua hasn't played a preseason game yet, so we don't know what he's going to do. This is going to only add more competition to the fray in regards to Puka Nacua. This is going to add competition to Tyler Johnson and the UDFAs. So I think this is just one of those things where we've seen it before where one guy, maybe he hasn't really succeeded anywhere, and then all of a sudden he goes to a team and it kind of sparks something. I think the Rams clearly see something in him to go out and get him. His yards per reception for his career is 11.1, and he was used more in the shorter yardage game with the Ravens. Now, predominantly he lines up out wide, so he's not really a slot guy. And I know the Rams like kind of that, I guess interchangeable wide receivers that can play in the slot and can play out wide, but that's not really what you're getting with DeMarcus Robinson. He does have some ball skills. He can go up and high point the football. He can go up and, get into those car accidents up high and down low. And so, he's not afraid of, a contested catch opportunity. He wants the ball. You could argue his time with Kansas City, there were guys overshadowing him, and then he finally got a little bit of an opportunity with the Ravens, but he only started 5 games. But a guy that's predominantly on the outside, can stretch the field a little bit. He's not super fast. He ran a 4.5, and I believe it was a late 4.5. But I think he plays faster on tape. But I think the thing that stands out in regards to DeMarcus Robinson, he's a good blocker. Okay. He's not great. He's not like elite, but he's a good blocker. I mean, when you watch the tape, he's somebody that you can rely on in those situations. He's somebody on third down you can get it to. Has a decent, I would say his decent catch radius, but I'd also say he's a good possession receiver as well. He's not going to be a starter on this team. Van Jefferson has that lockdown with Cooper Kupp, and I think Tutu Atwell, if anything, is the only one that's really going to challenge Van Jefferson because of his ability that he can play out wide. Now, the thing that I find really interesting here is we're starting to see it. Okay, the Rams, they got their draft picks. They spent their time. I can see why they didn't make so many moves in the offseason. I can definitely see it now. It's because you have to have X amount of dollars, in cap dollars, saved for your draft. And if the Rams knew ahead of time, hey, we're going to want 14 picks like they made, which is double than the regular that you would have in a draft class, if that was their idea going in, we want to get a bunch of guys out of this draft class, then I can understand, all right, let's wait. Let's see what we have after the next wave. None of these guys are going to count against the compensatory pick formula. And so we're going to wait. We're going to see what our cap space is. And potentially maybe a guy like Dalvin Cook, or, if we have an opportunity to trade for, a pass rusher or something, we'll do that. They decided instead, we're going to go with these potential bargain bins. And I'm not saying that DeMarcus Robinson is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but maybe with Stafford, maybe with more opportunity in this receiver room, with the injuries. I mean, let's also not forget Cooper Kupp dealt with an injury. He's coming back from one. It's exciting because he had all that time off and he's fresh, but he's still rehabbing or at least somewhat, coming back from it. And he's had an ACL tear in the past, and he's had injuries in the past. As great as Cooper Kupp is, and I believe he's the number one receiver, there have been injuries there. So then when you look at that, you have the injuries there. You have, of course, Van Jefferson, who dealt with an injury half of the 2021 season, then 2022, the first half of 2022 and beyond. And then Tutu Atwell had a season-ending injury his rookie year. So I think when you look at this is a guy who has literally played in every single game that he's been able to play in since 2016. From 22 to age 28, DeMarcus Robinson has not missed a game. He's played in all 17 games since they moved to 17 games, and he has played in all 16 back when they had 16 games in a season. He has playoff experience. He's played with good quarterbacks. And to be fair to him, I don't really feel like he got a great chance last year to play with, say, Lamar Jackson the full season. He was playing with Tyler Huntley, and so I do think he deserves a little bit of credit, and the Rams clearly saw something, so they're going to bring him in. We'll see what ends up happening. Am I jumping for joy over this? No. But am I intrigued? Absolutely. I was intrigued by the Tyler Johnson move. I'm intrigued by this one. I think Tyler Johnson is interesting because he's younger, right? He's only 24 years old. And this is somebody that Tom Brady, Hall of Famer, a lot of people call the GOAT, is going to be counting on. And so, or was counting on. And so now I look at DeMarcus Robinson, and he's got just a way longer resume. He's played longer, he's done more. And so I think this is an interesting one. Just keep an eye on it. I'm not saying he's going to go crazy or anything like that. I think when you look in the playoffs last year, having that touchdown on 49 yards for Baltimore in the playoffs, that was a big deal. But Baltimore didn't bring him back. So there was a reason he was a free agent. We'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully it works out for him. I'm rooting for him essentially. He is in the middle of, that prime age. I mean, he's 28. So we'll see what ends up happening. This is only a 1-year deal. There's no risk, and there's a chance he doesn't even make the roster. So let me know. What do you guys think? Do you think this guy makes the roster? How big of a role do you think he has if he does make the roster? How many receivers are they keeping? Are they keeping 7? Are they keeping 8? Are they keeping 6? Maybe even 5? What do you think? I want to know. Drop in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's drive up some conversation. But that's going to do it for me. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and I'll see you guys later.